Good morning, my name is Brian Grenier. I'm an instructional technology specialist with the Franklin feeder pattern over in West El Paso, and I am here this morning to speak with you a little bit about bring your own technology initiatives in schools and hopefully give you something to consider for the upcoming school year. Let me start off, just kind of introduce myself. I've already mentioned I'm an instructional technology specialist. I'm a father of two. These are my children. This is Aiden and Gabriella. Aiden's going to be in third grade next year at an elementary school here in El Paso. Real neat kid. He's into things like Legos right now and doing some stop action photography with some iPhone apps that we have. My daughter Gabriella will be 3 here next week. I like to say she's our problem child. She's learning to swear and just giving us kind of a hard time, but nah, she's a good girl. You know, when I look at Gabriella and Aiden, I'm amazed at the fast-paced world that they're growing up in and the connected world that they're growing up in. They're going to have the opportunity to experience some wonderful technologies that myself and many of you that are watching this didn't have available to us. Just as an example, I brought a few things with me. I brought an iPhone with me, and this is just your standard iPhone 4. This iPhone is 11 million times more powerful than the guidance systems that brought us to the moon, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. I brought an iPad. This is a 64 gigabyte iPad. This one device that weighs less than a pound has the ability to store up to 6 million books on it, which is pretty amazing that you can carry 6 million books in the palm of your hand. I brought my son's PSP. Now I gotta tell you a story about this PSP, and this is just a gaming system that we bought him one Christmas a couple of years ago. My wife and I, not too long ago, were watching the Olympic trials, and we heard Aiden back in his bedroom kind of talking. We didn't think much about it. There was, his sister was asleep. He didn't have any friends over, but 7-year-olds or 8-year-olds tend to talk to each other or talk to themselves. So this went on for a while, and eventually I went back to his room and I said, Aiden, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? He said, Dad, I'm talking to Forrest. Now this is his, and obviously this is an older picture, but this is his cousin Forrest, who lives up in Wisconsin. And I asked him, I said, well, how are you talking to him? Well, he said, well, on this gaming device he has Skype, and I remember that when we bought it for him that we set it up to connect to our home Wi-Fi system. So okay, he's got Skype on there. He's able to do some conferencing with Forrest up in Wisconsin. And I asked him, I said, what are you talking to Forrest about? And he says, well, I got to this point in the game I'm playing, and I got stuck, and I needed some help, so I called up Forrest and see if he could help me. That's a pretty amazing if you think about it. Aiden has instant access to experts across the world on this little gaming device. As an educator, I was pretty proud of him. As a father, I was a little upset that he didn't walk 20 feet into the next room to ask me, but apparently in his eyes I wasn't the expert on this particular problem he was facing. So Aiden and Gabriella and all of our students and children have these technologies that allow them to communicate and collaborate with their peers and with experts on a global scale. They have the ability to learn anything they want, anytime they want, anywhere they want, except when they get to school. And when they get to school, what do we tell them? We tell them to, please turn off your phones or don't even bring your phones. And worse yet, if you do bring these devices, we're going to take them from you, and in many instances, we're going to charge you to get these devices back. You know, at the very least, these devices can be used by our students just to simply access information. And I have a short video clip that kind of speaks to that. Let me bring that up for you real quick.
I am now banning all electronic devices, including laptops.
But we use them in all of our other classes. It's how we take notes.
Okay, hey, here's a wacky idea. You want to take notes? Use a notebook.
But you said no laptops.
That's correct.
A notebook is a laptop.
Shut up. Don't you see what's happening, people? The machines are getting smarter and we're getting dumber. Do you think any of these devices are going to tell you when Custer's last stand was?
1876.
That's right.
So that was kind of a fun little clip, I realized, but a lot of truth spoken in that with these devices, our students have this information available to them instantly. I want to take just a moment and speak about something called the Horizon Report. And if you're not familiar with the Horizon Report is a collaborative study that's done with partners from entities like ISTE and COSIN. And what they do is they look at technologies and technologies that are going to have an effect in our classrooms in the future. And they break these into horizons. So they look at the far-term horizon, the mid-term horizon, and the near-term horizon. The 2012 Horizon Report was just released in mid-June. And if we take a look at some of the elements that we see in these, we see on the far-term horizon, which is going to be about 4 to 5 years out, we're going to see things in our classrooms like augmented reality and natural user interfaces. And we are already starting to see some of this with things like our smartphones, where we're able to simply speak commands to our phones. Augmented reality, which is if you've never experienced it, it's really neat. It's the ability to layer information over a view of the normal world and then interact with that information in real time. So 4 to 5 years out, we're going to start seeing these types of things hit our classrooms. In the midterm horizon, about 2 to 3 years out from now, game-based learning and personal learning environments are going to be factors that are going to have an impact in our classrooms. The greatest potential with game-based learning especially is the ability to foster collaboration amongst our students and really strengthen and deepen the learning process. In the near-term horizon, meaning within the next 12 months, tablet computing and mobile devices and apps. And in El Paso ISD, we see this happening already with the nearly 10,000 iPads that are going out to our schools this upcoming school year. There is a difference between tablets and apps, but essentially we're looking at these feature-rich tools on the tablet side and the literally hundreds of thousands of apps that are available to teachers and students that have the ability to address topics in all curricular areas. And people are starting to pick up on this, and what we're seeing are these bring your own technology initiatives. And they're starting to be put into place everywhere we look, not only in schools, K12 schools, but in institutions of higher education, as well as in the corporate world. And speaking of the corporate world, just to kind of give you an example, they're finding that there is greater productivity with a cost-saving measure that's tied into this as well. So companies like USAA Insurance and Whirlpool and Unisys. Unisys is a global information technology company, and they surveyed their employees, and what they found was that over a third of their employees would be willing to pick up 100% of the costs of their IT devices if they were able to use them at work. Now you can imagine the amount of money that a company like Unisys would save by implementing a program like this. And I think that we can take that and bring it down to a school level and consider the amount of money that a school would save with such a program in place. As far as areas of higher education, this is a list of schools that are requiring students entering freshmen to bring their own technology. It's not an option in many of the colleges and universities our students are going to. They are required to bring their own technology to class. And we say we're doing a good job of preparing students for college, and in many respects we are, but I would ask you to consider how are you as a campus preparing students to use these mobile devices to get them ready. K12 institutions across the country are also implementing bring your own technology devices, or bring your own technology initiatives, I'm sorry. Places like Forsyth County Schools in Georgia, which is perhaps the most highly publicized institution that has a BYOT initiative in place. Osseo Public Schools in Minnesota, which actually started off kind of at a grassroots level. So it started off in a classroom, it expanded to a school, and eventually a number of schools, and eventually district-wide. Huntsville ISD here in Texas, that is supporting Bring Your Own Technology initiatives on all of their campuses, K through 12. The point here is that this can be done, and it is being done, regardless of what reasons people may have to not do that, to not put BYOT initiatives in place. And when you speak to people about their opposition to Bring Your Own Technology initiatives, generally their argument falls around one of 6 myths. The first myth is that schools should not put these in place because a Bring Your Own Technology initiative will deepen that digital divide. We hear it all the time. We have haves and have-nots in our schools. The digital divide is going to exist whether or not a BYOT initiative is in place on your campus. And it's silly to prevent those students that have the technology available to them out of some sense of equity. If anything, a BYOT initiative will level the playing field, where you have a finite set of resources on your campus. If we can reduce the amount of students that are competing to use those resources through a Bring Your Own Technology initiative, obviously those students that don't have the technology at home have a greater opportunity to use the technology available to them at school. The second myth, that Bring Your Own Device or Bring Your Own Technology initiative will result in lessons that are geared towards the weakest device. And I think the way we address this or speak to this is that your lessons are limited only by your imagination. Work with your instructional technology specialists, collaborate with teachers on your campus, with your administrators on your campus. Consider the limitless possibilities that a tech-rich environment could offer your students. The third myth, that Bring Your Own Technology initiatives will cause your students to be distracted. I would argue it and say that it's not the technology that distracts students, it's their lack of engagement in the learning. By allowing them to use their own devices, they have a personal stake in it. The learning becomes theirs. There's some ownership. Classroom management is important, obviously. Something as simple as when you're not using your device, let's put them face down on your desktop. Develop an acceptable use policy on your campus that has real consequences for those students that refuse to abide by your rules. The fourth myth, teachers will need to become experts in all the technologies that students own. Once again, that's not true. The way it works now, and if we look at the types of projects that we see on campuses across our district, and I'll just speak from personal experience, our campuses and our classrooms seem to be very big on PowerPoint, and I would argue that the reason for that is because teachers are comfortable with PowerPoint. So a teacher's scope of applications is limited to what they know or what they're comfortable with. If we can break that mindset and allow teachers to realize that they don't have to be the experts on these devices, the students are the experts on their devices, that's going to free up a lot of time and a lot of pressure on teachers and allow them to be the experts on the content and allow the students to be the experts on the device. The fifth myth, that students will engage in dangerous activities, that they'll visit sites they're not supposed to visit, that they'll communicate with people they shouldn't be communicating with. Trying to ban students from accessing and using these technologies is futile. It doesn't prepare them for the world that they're living in, and quite honestly, they're doing it already. If you think about your driver's ed course, not many of us learn to drive a car in a simulator. They put us in the driver's seat of a 2-ton car and told us to hit the road and learn. I think in many respects we need to address technology the same way. We need to guide students. We need to address mistakes that they're sure to make. But we need to have this in place to ensure that we're producing responsible digital citizens and responsible internet users. The sixth myth, cell phones aren't that powerful, so we shouldn't waste our time with them. There was a Pew internet research study that was released at the end of 2011, I believe. And what it found was that 74% of teens have high-speed internet access at home. Now, of that, within that same study, it found that 93% of teens go online. So while 74% have it at home, still 93% of those students are accessing the internet online. In that same study, they found that 41% of teens that come from families that earn less than $30,000 a year go online primarily using their mobile devices, using cell phones and iPods and things like that. And as you go higher and higher in your income brackets, that number drops. So up in the highest income brackets, that number drops to 20%. So we think about that, and what that tells me is that the kids that have computers at home we are addressing their needs at school, but we're leaving aside a whole population of students that rely on mobile devices. We're not addressing proper use and proper etiquette on how to use these devices in schools. And we're leaving a whole group of kids aside. Today during these talks you're going to hear a lot of talk about tools and what kinds of tools that we can be using in our classrooms. I want you to keep in mind that of the tools that are spoken about today, nearly all of them can be accessed using some sort of mobile device, whether that's a tablet, a mobile phone, a iPod. You know, it's limitless. So keep that in mind as you go through the day or as you listen to these talks. I want to leave you with one thing. And this goes back to the time when I was an educator in the classroom, as well as from speaking with a number of teachers and administrators. I often hear when teachers get frustrated that they say something along the lines of students need to take responsibility for their own education. I know I've been guilty of saying that. It's a way, I guess, for us to not necessarily pass the buck, but it's something I think we all say. If we believe this is true, if we really believe that students need to take responsibility for their education, and in many respects I think we do, then I think that we should have policies in place that allow them to do so. I hope you consider a Bring Your Own Technology initiative on your campus. If this is something you'd like to see happen on your campus, please speak with your instructional technology specialist, and you know, maybe start small, start at a grade level or a subject area. But I hope you consider it. Thank you, and have a good day.